2024 presidential election showdown between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. We'll analyze the latest polling data from all 50 states, giving you a comprehensive look at who's leading in this heated race. Let's get started. In Arizona, Donald Trump leads with 49%, while Kamala Harris follows closely at 48.6%, making this a tight race with Trump ahead by 0.4%. In Florida, Donald Trump holds a solid lead at 51% compared to Kamala Harris at 44%, giving Trump a substantial lead of 7%. In Georgia, Donald Trump is in the lead with 49%, while Kamala Harris trails closely at 47%, putting Trump ahead by 2%. In Michigan, Kamala Harris leads with 49% of the vote compared to Donald Trump at 47%, giving Harris a 2% advantage. Minnesota shows a lead for Kamala Harris with 50% compared to Donald Trump at 44%, placing Harris ahead by 6%. Nevada is a close race with Kamala Harris leading at 49% compared to Donald Trump at 48%, giving Harris a narrow 1% lead. In New York, Kamala Harris holds a commanding lead with 58% of the vote, while Donald Trump trails at 39%, giving Harris a solid 19% advantage. North Carolina sees Donald Trump at 49% with Kamala Harris close behind at 48%, making this a tight race with Trump leading by 1%. In Ohio, Donald Trump has a strong lead with 51% compared to Kamala Harris at 45%, giving Trump a 6% advantage. Pennsylvania is closely contested with Kamala Harris leading at 49%, while Donald Trump is at 48%, putting Harris ahead by 1%. Wisconsin is extremely close with Donald Trump at 48% and Kamala Harris also at 48%, making this race almost evenly split with Trump leading by 0.2%. In Kansas, Donald Trump leads with 48% of the vote, while Kamala Harris holds 43%. Trump maintains a lead of 5% in this traditionally Republican state. In Nebraska, Donald Trump commands 56% of the vote against Kamala Harris's 40%, demonstrating a strong lead of 16% for Trump. Nebraska District 2. In Nebraska's 2nd District, Trump leads with 46% of the vote, while Kamala Harris has 39%, giving Trump a 7% advantage in this battleground district. In Texas, Donald Trump holds 51% of the vote compared to Kamala Harris at 45%. Trump leads by 6% in this crucial swing state. In Alaska, Donald Trump has 51% support, while Kamala Harris has 43%, giving Trump an 8% lead in this traditionally conservative state. In Montana, Trump holds a decisive lead with 58% of the vote compared to Harris's 40%, giving him an 18% advantage. In South Carolina, Donald Trump is ahead with 54% of the vote, while Kamala Harris stands at 42%. Trump leads by 12% here. In New Jersey, Kamala Harris holds 52% support, while Donald Trump has 40%, showing a 12% advantage for Harris in this Democratic stronghold. In Virginia, Kamala Harris is ahead with 50% compared to Trump's 41%, putting Harris in the lead by 9% in this battleground state. In Maryland, Kamala Harris has a commanding lead with 61% of the vote, while Donald Trump has 33%. Harris leads by a substantial 28%. In New Hampshire, Kamala Harris has 50% of the vote, while Donald Trump holds 44%, giving Harris a lead of 6% in this critical swing state. In South Dakota, Trump holds a solid lead with 61% of the vote, while Kamala Harris has 34%, giving Trump a strong 27% lead. In Maine, Kamala Harris leads with 48% of the vote against Trump's 41%, giving her a 7% advantage in this close race. District 1. In Maine's 1st District, Kamala Harris commands 56% of the vote, while Donald Trump has 33%, giving Harris a 23% lead. Maine District 2, in Maine's 2nd District. Donald Trump leads with 49% compared to Harris's 40%, giving Trump a 9% advantage. Massachusetts, in Massachusetts, Kamala. Harris holds a commanding lead with 61% of the vote, compared to Trump's 32%, showing a clear Democratic advantage, with Harris leading by 29%. New Mexico. In New Mexico, Kamala Harris leads with 50% of the vote, while Trump holds 43%, giving Harris a 7% advantage in this southwestern state. Oregon. In Oregon, Kamala Harris leads with 53% compared to Trump's 41%, giving her a solid 12% advantage in this Pacific Northwest state. Washington. In Washington, Kamala Harris holds a strong lead with 56% of the vote against Trump's 36%, showing a Democratic advantage of 21%. California. In California, Kamala Harris leads with 59% of the vote compared to Trump's 34%, maintaining a large Democratic lead of 25%. Utah. In Utah, Donald Trump holds a significant lead with 54% over Kamala Harris's 38%, maintaining a strong 16% Republican advantage. Tennessee. In Tennessee, Donald Trump leads with 56% of the vote compared to Kamala Harris's 35%, showing a clear 21% Republican advantage. Iowa. In Iowa, Donald Trump holds a lead with 49% over Kamala Harris's 44%, giving him a 5% edge in this Midwestern battleground. North Dakota. In North Dakota, Donald Trump holds a solid lead with 59% compared to Kamala Harris's 32%, showing a strong Republican advantage of 27%. Indiana. In Indiana, Donald Trump has a lead with 56% of the vote, while Kamala Harris holds 40%, resulting in a 16% Republican advantage. Delaware. In Delaware, Kamala Harris leads with 55% compared to Donald Trump's 37%, showing a clear Democratic advantage of 18%. Colorado. In Colorado, Kamala Harris leads with 53%, while Donald Trump has 42%, holding an 11% advantage for the Democrats. Connecticut. In Connecticut, Kamala Harris leads with 57% compared to Donald Trump's 41%, maintaining a strong 16% Democratic advantage. Rhode Island. In Rhode Island, Kamala Harris holds a lead with 57% of the vote compared to Trump's 41%, giving her a 17% advantage. Missouri. In Missouri, Donald Trump leads with 54% over Kamala Harris's 42%, giving him a Republican advantage of 12%. Arkansas. In Arkansas, Donald Trump leads with 55% compared to Kamala Harris's 40%, showing a strong 15% Republican advantage. Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, Donald Trump holds a solid lead with 56% over Kamala Harris's 40%, showing a clear Republican advantage of 16%. West Virginia. In West Virginia, Donald Trump has a commanding lead with 61%, while Kamala Harris holds 34%, giving Trump a strong 27% advantage. Vermont. In Vermont, Kamala Harris holds a strong lead with 70% of the vote compared to Trump's 29%, showing a 41% Democratic advantage. Alabama. In Alabama, Donald Trump holds a strong lead with 58% compared to Kamala Harris's 38%, giving Trump a 20% Republican advantage. Hawaii. In Hawaii, Kamala Harris leads with 58% of the vote compared to Trump's 36%, showing a clear Democratic advantage of 22%. Idaho. In Idaho, Donald Trump holds a solid lead with 60% compared to Kamala Harris's 34%, showing a strong 26% Republican advantage. Illinois. In Illinois, Kamala Harris leads with 55% of the vote compared to Trump's 40%, maintaining a strong Democratic advantage of 15%. Kentucky. In Kentucky, Donald Trump holds a commanding lead with 62%, while Kamala Harris has 32%, showing a Republican advantage of 30%. Louisiana. In Louisiana, Donald Trump leads with 59% compared to Kamala Harris's 37%, holding a solid Republican advantage of 22%. Mississippi. In Mississippi, Donald Trump has a strong lead with 61% compared to Kamala Harris's 34%, showing a 27% Republican advantage. That wraps up our deep dive into the 2024 presidential election showdown. We've covered the latest polling state by state, explored the battlegrounds, and looked at what could decide the race. As we move closer to Election Day, the numbers may shift, and every vote will count in shaping the future of our country. Make sure to stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, make your voice heard. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up. Let us explore the Senate map for 2024 using my almost final estimates for every race. This trend is also reflected in the overall numbers, as the latest polling average shows Trump slightly favored, leading Harris by 1.3% based on 55 polls in the Decision Desk HQ average. In terms of early voting, Georgia is again seeing a record number of ballots cast early, with early voting surpassing halfway to the total turnout of 2020. So far, around 2.8 million ballots have been cast early or by mail, with Republicans leading by 4 points, 49% to 45%. Interestingly, this is a relatively positive sign for Democrats. Back in 2020, Republicans outnumbered Democrats by 8 points in early voting out of 4 million ballots. While Democratic numbers are probably still inflated due to the overrepresentation of mail-in ballots, which tend to be cast first and lean far more Democratic, the Harris campaign will take the positive indicators where they can get them at this point. For now, we'll keep Georgia in the tilt Republican category on our map as we continue to monitor these numbers over the next week. Now moving up the southeast coast to North Carolina, worth 16 electoral votes and another core battleground. Democrats need to build a solid early voting lead here, as rural Republican-dominated areas are expected to swing hard for Trump on Election Day. So far, however, Democrats are once again underperforming, trailing Republicans by 2 points among the 2.5 million ballots cast so far. Early voting in North Carolina has been complicated by court rulings concerning RFK Jr.'s status on the ballots, and of course, the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, which temporarily closed some early voting sites. Still, the sample size of 2.5 million votes casts valuable insight. In 2020, Democrats built a firewall of 5 points over Republicans headed into Election Day among roughly 4.5 million ballots, but Trump ultimately won the state by more than a point. So again, Democrats are currently underperforming their 2020 numbers in a state where they need high turnout to remain competitive. Trump leads Harris by 1.5% right now in an average of 59 polls. So North Carolina will join other Sunbelt states in the tilt Republican category on our map. We have 9 states to go now, with former President Trump leading in the race to 270 electoral votes, with 244 over Kamala Harris's 195. Let's turn to the Midwest, starting with Harris's running mate, Tim Walz's home state of Minnesota. In 2020, Joe Biden carried Minnesota by a 7-point margin.